reentry from the bail bond side of it, and with the reentry program. One of the things that, sticks out with the housing is that the reentry programs are so divided. I may not know about his program. He may not know about mine. They're all like hidden jewels throughout the county and different jurisdictions. And most of them rely solely on the grants. So once the grant money is gone, the program is gone. You no longer hear about the program.
That's that 10th thing on the list.
Oh, okay.
It's exactly. I mean, it's a very important point. Not only that, not having the information sharing piece, but the best practices. In other words, what does in fact work? There's you said you keep 3 people sort of under your guys for 3 years. Is that a good idea? It should be longer, it should be shorter, and different people have different views on that, and maybe some programs have done it for 1 year, and then there's a transition out that you might want to know about that you guys are doing in your facilities in Prince George's, things like that.
I think it would be helpful to start some type of network where there's a resource center that can stay connected to these people, basically that can reach out or that they can reach back to. If they're running into situations that they have, that they have no answer for.
And that's right. And right now, the way parole and probation work is you're just supposed to show up, right? So you got released, and you're supposed to show up, whatever it's weekly or monthly. And if you show up, you basically got 98% of what you're supposed to do, and the other 2% you're not supposed to have reoffended. But when you show up, there's nobody there to talk to you about your particular individualized needs and opportunities, which goes to, I think, one of the things we've been talking about here.
And not to cut you off, but a central location that could keep a case management file that's indefinite, a resource where you can go back and look and see what this person's history was.
Yeah.
So that way when you're talking to them, you already have some information about the root cause of, where they came from and what's going on with them, because then you know who you're talking to versus like the courts, we identify people with a piece of paper. We don't really know that person, and that's another issue I hope we touch on.
Yeah, one of the things that with the housing, and I served as the director of workforce development for the Center for Urban Families for the last 14 years, and so all the issues of reentry you've served on the mayor, then governor's reentry task force, and a lot of what I'm hearing is some of this is really great, Doug. But with the issue of housing has always been a paramount issue, and Bishop, he knows that very well. But it have always been no funding. And see, and we've never, at the Center for Urban Family and with this Drive Baltimore program, we've never called ourselves reentry. Because like reentry has always been the buzzword. Each administration have a buzzword for funding for dollars, and everyone's chasing those dollars. So then they changed their name to Reentry Program, and we've never changed our name to Reentry Program because these are folks that are coming back to communities, to families, and they need to. Reentry even have a stigma to it, and so that's why we never said reentry. We say that these are citizens, these are returning citizens, and how do we reintegrate them back into these communities? And but that's a big sticky point.
The housing funding.
The housing funding, because
right.
Everyone goes for the glitz and the glamour of them getting out of prison, and then they have that initial housing. But then when the funding go,
where do they go?
Where do they go?
Right. No. And if there's, a lot of these ideas are inextricably tied because you have your individual. If you're looking at people individually, I guess you talk about Peanut and Boo Boo. But you got to know who's Peanut and Boo Boo to each person, and then whether if that's where you want to sort of promote their housing or not. Are you putting it back into a bad situation, or are you actually getting a good situation? Where's Grandma live? Well, she's in South Carolina. Maybe that's where there's different, but you have to look at it instead of just saying, okay, we're going to warehouse folks for X amount of time on a bed, even if we had the funding. But then they're going to still go out and be part of that 50% recidivism rate.
Because that case management is just so important. Because
yes.
One of the things that I heard you talk about is that transitional employment. That transitional employment for many of them, these individuals that's coming back into the community is just so crucial. Because if they don't have a source to start to get money in their pockets, yeah, they're going to go back to the same thing that that they're used to doing.
That's right.
And so with that transition, that concept of transitional employment,
And getting a real education while they're incarcerated. I mean, that's to me is critical. Education, either was a GED or whatever, but being able to get certified for a trade, so at least you're not just banging randomly on doors. She's like, look, I've got a certification here to be a plumber. You know, I'm available, and there's a need for plumber, whatever the trade might be.
see, but then it comes down to the intermediary that's going to market these folks.
Yes.
Because like they cannot go out and market themselves. Now this is where I know that I can pat myself on the back because
ahead.
a lot of
Just
these
us.
guys that have come home, we've been able to help them to parlay those skills that they learned behind the fence into employment. But it is a marketing job talking to employers, because and it's not, tax credit, we've known about tax credit for the last 14 years. Employers, they say, okay, that's fine, but I don't want to take that risk,
Right.
because I have to worry about the reputation of my business, and because that doesn't cover my reputation.
That's partnered with the bonding piece of it.
But even with the bond,
They partnered with the bonding piece.
okay, I've done it for, I've like the day-to-day operation. It's about a sale and getting the trust of that employee, because like
Now, we're very grassroots. We have a lot of our members in here too. We're very grassroots. We're not looking at $25,000 pieces of equipment in our restaurants. But I think that the education piece, because you teach a man to fish,
Exactly.
you know the whole scenario to that. So inevitably we need to educate them so that we don't have to worry about the bonding. We need to educate them so that they are viable pieces of our businesses and communities. And that's only going to be able to be done with, we are now in America a service society. There are more restaurants opening up daily in Baltimore than any place that I can think of. So how do we teach these young men coming home? And I believe in calling it what it is because I'm out here every day. Look, it's reinitiating them into society. They've done something bad. I don't want them at that point to forget, but I want them to understand that they can then grow. So we can only do that through education, and it's got to be through culinary programs. It's got to be through management programs, management training programs. It's got to be through tourism and things of that nature. Education is going to be the key.
And you do hire some exhibitors?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And that's been
Restaurants are the first place they're coming.
Talk about the
Because we can come, they can come to us and they say, hey, I can cook a burger, but my problem is as a small independent restaurant, and until we got our other one, our thing is I have to find somebody that's going to hit the ground running. So before he got incarcerated, if he didn't have any cooking experience, I couldn't hire him.
But if he did, if he got that training while he's incarcerated,
I would.
Right.